Have you ever looked at your RV's power cord and wondered, how the heck am I supposed to plug this into my house or a different receptacle? In this video, we're breaking down something every RVer should know: dog bone electrical adapters. We'll explain what they are, how they work, and which ones you should actually keep with you. We'll also talk about what you can't do with them and how they become dangerous. This lesson comes straight from our Introduction to RVs course at the Cozy Camper Academy, designed to help you feel confident, avoid damage, and stop guessing in your RV life. Let's get into it. Let's talk about electrical adapters, or as everybody calls them, dog bones. One of the questions that I get asked the most is, how can I plug my RV into a house or another space that doesn't have a dedicated RV outlet? The answer to that question is to use a dog bone, but the answer is not as simple as you might think. This is an electrical adapter, also known as a dog bone. A dog bone is a heavy-duty electrical adapter that allows you to plug an RV into a different type of receptacle. They're called dog bones because they kind of look like dog bones. In this case, it is a 50 amp female receptacle, and on this side there is a 30 amp male outlet. This would allow me to take a 50 amp RV and plug it into a 30 amp receptacle. They allow your RV to connect to different types of power receptacles that you might find at residences or RV parks. So you can take a 50 amp RV and plug it into a 30 amp receptacle, or you can take a 30 amp RV and plug it into a 50 amp receptacle. You can take 30 and 50 amp RVs and plug them into household residential 15 amp outlets. But it's not as simple as you think. It's pretty common for RV parks to only have one style of receptacle at their pedestal. It used to be 30 amp receptacles, and it's becoming more common to have only 50 amp receptacles. But what if you have a 30 amp RV and you're going to a park that has a 50 amp receptacle? That's where you use the dog bone. You use the adapter to adapt your RV's power plug to make it fit the receptacle at an RV park. You can also do this if you are parking your RV on someone's property or you're storing your RV at your property. Here, I have a dog bone adapter for a 50 amp RV so that we can plug it into a residential 15 amp outlet. Now, this probably sounds amazing, but there are some limitations. The rule of thumb when you're using dog bones is that you can step your RV down and restrict wattage, but you can never increase your available wattage. So as we discussed in an earlier segment, 50 amp RVs can use up to 12,000 watts of power, while 30 amp RVs can only use 3,600 watts of power. If I plug a 50 amp RV into a 30 amp receptacle using an electrical dog bone, I have reduced that 50 amp RV to a 30 amp RV. And now what would be a 50 amp RV is now a 30 amp RV and can only use 3,600 watts. The same is true if I take a 30 amp RV or a 50 amp RV and I plug it into a residential 15 amp outlet. Plugging into a residential outlet with a dog bone restricts all styles of RVs to only 1,800 watts. So if you are plugging an RV into a residence, or maybe you're mooch docking, you can only use 1,800 watts of power on that dog bone for your RV's electrical system. What this means is that if your RV was previously able to run multiple air conditioners or high-draw appliances at the same time, you will now be able to run effectively none. Now, you might be wondering, what if I take a 30 amp RV and I use a dog bone to adapt it to a 50 amp receptacle? Will I get more wattage from my 30 amp RV? The answer is no. While the receptacle is capable of passing 12,000 watts of power to your RV, the dog bone will eliminate one of those 120 volt legs, and the circuit breaker inside your RV will restrict the 120 volt service to 30 amps. So a 30 amp RV plugged into a 50 amp receptacle is still a 30 amp RV, but if you take a 50 amp RV and plug it into a 30 amp receptacle, you have turned it into a 30 amp RV. Just remember, you can always restrict your RV's wattage. You can never increase your RV's wattage. And if you are plugged into a residence or a 15 amp outlet, that's really only good for running your converter and keeping your 12 volt appliances working. If you try to run high draw appliances like your air conditioner while plugged into a 15 amp receptacle, you run the risk of damaging the electrical components on board. A problem that occurs when you're stepping down on a dog bone is that you can inadvertently overload the electrical system. Let me explain. Let's say that we've got a 50 amp RV and we're plugging it into a 30 amp receptacle. That restricts the RV from 12,000 watts of total power to 3,600 watts of total power. You know that, and I know that, but your RV doesn't know that. If you turn on 2 air conditioners at the same time, your electrical system will try to provide power to both of those appliances. On this 50 amp to 30 amp dog bone adapter, what we'll see commonly is melt occur on the 30 amp side. If you can imagine that this thing is rated to move 3,600 watts, but it is trying to move 12,000 watts, it will get hot, these can melt, and they will fail. Anytime that you are stepping down an RV's connection, it is critical that you use caution and restrict your electrical usage wisely. Some key takeaways on this lesson. Dog bones are electrical adapters, not converters. You can step down your RV connection, but you can never increase it. You will always be limited by the smallest part of your electrical system. Use caution when using dog bones, especially when plugging into residential connections. Always inspect your dog bone connectors for signs of damage from loose or overloaded connections. If this video helped you feel a little bit more confident about your RV, that's what we're here for. At Cozy Camper Academy, we've created the Introduction to RV course, designed to give you real-world knowledge without the extra fluff. Whether you're brand new or you're just tired of piecing it all together from other videos, this course gives you the clarity you need to enjoy your RV life. You'll also get downloadable checklists and worksheets, as well as an exclusive discount if you join the waitlist or buy the course now. The link's in the description. We'd love to help you hit the road feeling prepared and in control.